What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Full 90. It is time for week 13 of Premier League predictions, and I just want to say a massive thank you to all of you for the support on the channel. We are nearly at 29,500 subscribers already, and we only need to hit 30,000 by January the 1st to introduce La Liga, Serie A, and Bundesliga to the channel. So thank you all for subscribing. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward, if we do get there, to get cracking with those videos. And here are the winning accumulators we had since the last episode, and as you can see, we've got Bundesliga right there, we've got La Liga right here, and we've got a bunch of Serie A down here. So you can expect these predictions in videos if we reach 30,000 subscribers. It was pretty much a flawless week for Serie A, actually. This was Saturday right here, and this was Sunday. And I've been loving Serie B recently as well. The value is just insane. We've got 5 league, 5 winners, 5-fold up there. I thought the odds for the Bundesliga on Sunday were massively inflated for reasons I still don't understand. But I'll scroll through these quickly. We had the UCL 5 winners, 5-fold, of course, Dutch treble, the UCL over 2.5 goals double, and obviously I've been dabbling with Brazil Serie A since the international break. Flashing up on the screen are all of the people that are supporting me over on the Patreon and who have access to these exclusive tips. So if you want to get a shout out in every single video and get access to the members only group chat where you can also discuss different accumulators you've got with each other and for yourselves, then be sure to click that link in the description. And it's everyone over there supporting me that has basically allowed me to put so much effort into making these videos with all the editing and everything like that, but also all the research for the Patreon and YouTube members posts. I really do appreciate it, and obviously it will go a long way as to helping me make those videos on those other leagues should we reach the 30,000 subscriber goal that we set at the start of this year. And I also want to give a shout out to the new members of the YouTube Members Club. You can also get the same tips and accumulators by clicking the join button down below if that's available to you, but you don't have access to the exclusive members group chat and stuff like that. So I think the Patreon is a better option at the same price, but if you want to click the join button instead, feel free to do so. But now it is time for the Premier League, and we're kicking it off with Brighton up against Southampton. Now, I really like this one. I like this from a betting standpoint. Brighton in the previous game week, if we just scroll down briefly because I have to get past all of the Champions League stuff, Brighton beat Bournemouth away from home. And I have to say, as you may or may not know, over on Patreon, I've been calibrating a banker and upset predictor where every week I take my 3 most likely correct predictions and my 3 least likely correct predictions and create a banker and an upset treble. Well, last week I had 5 out of 6. My top 3 bankers was Fulham and both teams to score. They lost 4-1. Chelsea and both teams to score. That happened. And Everton double chance. That was 0-0. But my bottom 3 upset ACCA, so essentially predicting against my 3 least likely ones to get right based on the previous data from the season, I had a 13-1 treble of Brighton to win against Bournemouth at odds of 3, Aston Villa and Crystal Palace both to score at odds of 1.75, and both teams not to score in the City and Tottenham game at 2.5. So those 3 games were the ones that I was least likely to predict, right? So I went against my predictions, created a treble, and the bottom 3, I've had 5 winning bottom 3 upset accumulators. So there's value in backing the teams that I'm successful with, but also going against the teams that I struggle to predict. But nevertheless, Brighton and Southampton, this is my 4th most likely to predict of the top 10, so wouldn't feature in a banker or upset treble, but still quite high up there. And I think Brighton are going to win. Obviously, Southampton, they could have taken points off Liverpool, but they didn't in the end. I think Brighton at the Amex Stadium are going to win this one, but I definitely think Southampton can contribute. If they can score 2 against Liverpool, put up a good showing for themselves, I think they can contribute. I'm going to say that Brighton win this one 3-1, and the tip is going to be Brighton and both teams to score at 2.62. Now, after this, Brentford up against Leicester. This is a team and a match that I feel like I will predict well. It is my 2nd most likely of the 10 this game week. Leicester, they do score goals and they do concede goals. And Brentford, they have the best home form in the league. So I think Brentford are going to win. That's not going to be my tip, though. I'm going to say Brentford to win 3-2, and the tip will be both teams to score and over 2.5 goals. The odds are 1.9. Not quite sure why. You could look at Brentford and both teams to score, but both teams to score and over 2.5 goals at 1.9. Sign me up. Now, moving on, we have Crystal Palace up against Newcastle. This, I won't say it for every single one, but this one I have to highlight. For the game week, this is the least likely fixture that I will be predicting correct. And in the last week one, the one that I was least likely to get right was Bournemouth-Brighton, and I tipped a draw and Brighton ended up winning. But what prediction is that based off of? Well, this week, it's based off of a Newcastle win. Now, I know they lost to West Ham, but if I had to pick a scoreline for this result, I would say 2-1 to Newcastle. Now, I can't look at this and go, this is the one I'm least likely going to predict, so I'm going to change my prediction. I mean, that might be a good shout, actually. In theory, what I should be doing is doing my original prediction, and then I notice that it's the one I'm not likely to get and change it. So it's not like I've gone, this is one I'm not likely to predict and then swapped it. I would say a 2-1 Newcastle win, and my tip will be Newcastle double chance at 1.4. But the bottom upset system would suggest, therefore, that Newcastle are not going to win this game. So do with that what you will. It's interesting, actually. I wonder if going forward at any point, if I will take a look at these games in particular where the odds of me getting it correct are a bit lower and actually swap my prediction. Like, for example, for this one, I would probably then have to make it a 1-1 draw and say Crystal Palace double chance as my tip if I was taking that into account. But as of right now, I'm still going with my original predictions, which means this might not come true. I hope that's enough explaining. I've kind of waffled on about it, but I've had a lot of the bottom 3 upset accumulators have had more winners than the top 3 banker accumulators, both of which should be equally likely to win, but the bottom upset ones usually have higher odds because they're upsets of the odds. But anyway, I think Newcastle should win, so I'm going to stick with Newcastle double chance. After this, it's Nottingham Forest up against Ipswich at home. Ipswich drew 1-1 with Man United. If it wasn't for Onana and Delap not just finishing the chances a little bit more clinically, I think they could have beaten Manchester United there. I think a draw, I guess you could say, is probably a fair result in the end. I don't know. I think Ipswich were actually the better team. But nevertheless, Nottingham Forest, I think they are going to get the win here at home. If we look back at the previous game week, Nottingham Forest did sustain quite a heavy defeat to Arsenal. But Arsenal have been clicking. They've been firing. And after beating Nottingham Forest 3-0, they went and slapped Sporting 5-1. That was one of the best Arsenal performances I have seen. But I think Nottingham Forest are poised to bounce back and get a win here. I'm going to say Nottingham Forest to win 2-0, and the tip is Forest to win at 1.66. After this, we have Wolverhampton Wanderers up against Bournemouth. Wolves coming off of a 4-1 win against Fulham away from home. That is a brilliant result. And Bournemouth, after beating Arsenal and Man City at the Vitality, they lost to Brighton. But both teams scored over 2.5 goals. I think this is going to happen once again for these two teams. I'm going to say that Wolves do get the win. I like them a lot, and I said a few weeks ago I think they're lower than their points tally suggest. They also had a really difficult run of fixtures at the start of the season, and we knew that they were going to start picking up points, or at least I did. And I think they're going to win here. I'm going to say Wolves to win 2-1. I think if this was away, maybe I'd go 1-1 or something, but Wolves to win 2-1. The tip is both teams to score at 1.53, but if you're feeling brave, Wolves and both teams to score would be really, really high odds. Now, after this, it's a London derby. West Ham up against Arsenal. West Ham obviously beating Newcastle 2-0. Arsenal beating Forest 3-0 and then going on to beat Sporting. It just makes such a difference to have Odegaard back in the team. If you watch that Champions League game, everything goes through him. If it's not Odegaard to Saka, it's Odegaard to Havertz. It's Odegaard all over the field. And I do think Arsenal are going to bounce back and win here. I have said this since it happened, but last December when Arsenal lost 2-0 to West Ham, that was the game that lost Arsenal the title. Because obviously, you know, if they won a different game, if they didn't lose 2-0 to Villa in April, they could have won the league. But Arsenal played so badly against West Ham last time. They have to be better. That was the game where we lost the league. That little run in December, it was awful. I think they're going to bounce back. I do. I think West Ham, they've got their win against Newcastle, and I'm glad they did, because I actually think that sort of lowers their chance of winning here, because I think if they didn't beat Newcastle, they could have very well done what they did to Newcastle to Arsenal. But I think Arsenal have finally started to click. So I'm going to say 3-1 to Arsenal, and my tip is over 2.5 goals at 1.66. Now, after this, we move on to Super Sunday for Chelsea up against Aston Villa. This is statistically the most likely game I am to get correct. I included Chelsea and both teams to score, as I said, in the top 3 banker ACCA last week, and that happened. I'm basically going to say the same thing here. I'm going to say that Chelsea win this one 2-1. My tip is Chelsea to win at 1.72 because I really like the odds. But if you like Chelsea and both teams to score, the odds are 3. Chelsea travel away to Heidenheim in the Conference League today. They should win that, but Heidenheim they're a tricky team. I think Heidenheim could score. I think Chelsea and both teams to score in the Conference League, actually. I think there'll be at least 3 goals. I could see Chelsea winning that 2-3-1, 4-2. Maybe check, by the time you're watching this video, the game might have already finished or it might just be kicking off. I could see Chelsea winning both teams to score against Heidenheim. But I'm going to say they win 2-1 against Villa, and I say Chelsea to win at 1.72 is the tip. Now, after this, it's Manchester United up against Everton. Man United's recent record against Everton is really, really good, and they also are keeping quite a lot of clean sheets. They failed to impress, really, against Ipswich. They sort of took the lead in the first couple of minutes and then didn't really create anything, and Ipswich just kind of battered them, really, but they still only scored 1 goal, and it was quite lucky in the end. If that shot doesn't get deflected, Onana saves it. Like, the deflection, the amount it deviated was a lot, and Onana still nearly saved it. So, albeit Ipswich had a lot of chances and they should have scored more, Man United, they did pretty well with what they put forward. So, I think United are going to win here. Everton haven't scored a goal since October. 2 0-0s back-to-back, and then losing 1-0 before to Southampton, which they were a little bit unlucky with. So I think Man United are going to win this one. I'm going to say 1-0, and I'm just going to tip Man United to win at 1.53. I think the recent record for them against Everton really swayed me to make that call. Now, after this, it's Tottenham up against Fulham. Tottenham play against Roma in the Europa League tonight. I think Tottenham can win that, actually, to be honest, as well. Roma looking a little bit out of sorts, just coming off a loss to Napoli. But Fulham also getting battered by Wolverhampton Wanderers. I think Tottenham are going to win this one, and I'm gonna say it'll be high scoring. Tottenham to win 3-1. I thought about both teams to score, but the odds are like 1.5, so I'm just going to back Tottenham to win at 1.66 instead. I know the last few games they've won 1, lost 1, won 1, lost 1, and they tend to beat the better teams and lose to the worst teams. But Fulham are a decent team. Tottenham, maybe they lose the one against Roma and then they can come in and win this game. But they've still got a very real chance at top 4. I still think the top 4 will be as it is. Maybe not even in the order, but I think, you know, Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, and Chelsea, that was the top 4 I predicted at the start of the season. So that's the top 4 that I'm sticking with. But Tottenham have a chance to get there. They're 3 points behind top 4. So I think with this win, they'd be looking pretty good. Tottenham to win 1.66. Now, after this, it's Liverpool up against Manchester City. Liverpool already qualified to the next round of the Champions League. 5 out of 5 wins, beating Real Madrid. Man City, 3-0 up against Feyenoord. And the commentator said something like, they're surely beaten now or something. And then Feyenoord score 3 late goals and make it 3-3. So Man City are winless in 6, losing 5 of them. So why is it I think they won't lose here? I think it's going to be just one of those things. Man City will raise their game. Liverpool are unreal. And I think a lot of people are going to predict Liverpool to win this. And I can see why. Liverpool are deserved favourites. The odds are 2.1. I could see a world in which that happens. I think Liverpool could win. But this is purely a gut instinct. I'm going to say Liverpool 2-2. I think Liverpool Man City 2-2. The tip is going to be both teams score at 1.5. Liverpool to win at 2.1 is really good, but this is just an absolute gut feeling, and I haven't predicted a draw this game week, so I'm going to say it'll happen in the Liverpool-Man City game. You remember a few years ago, you know, everyone would get really hyped for Liverpool-Man City, and then they'd go and draw 0-0. Now, Liverpool are in phenomenal form, but something in my gut is just telling me, if Liverpool batter Man City here, it's really telling. You could almost say the league is done. But I just think Man City will be able to peg Liverpool back for some reason. Pure gut feeling. So we'll go Liverpool 2-2. Both teams to score at 1.5. And that is going to do it for the Week 13 Premier League predictions. Please do let me know yours down in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the games this week. There's so many good fixtures. And that is going to do it from me. Drop a like while you're down there. Subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video very soon.